believe in the gun. And our players don't use it most days. They use it every day.
In my 20 years as head coach, I've used the gun every single year. Well, my dream as a coach that everybody would grow up with the gun, because getting all those reps would make my job a lot easier.
Good morning, everyone. Tom McDonald from the NABC Championship Webinar Series. I'm on the board of directors. I'm the 2-year college coach rep, and I've also been with Championship Productions for like 20 years. Some special thanks. We got a couple of, just so you know, some technical things we're working on right now, but Coach Jones is on trying to pull up some things. So but special thanks to the NABC staff. They've been absolutely fantastic. And what they've done on the side of support, marketing, and promotions, Jim Haney, Reggie Mitten, Troy Hilton, Eric Weiberg, and the Gun for being involved just to help put this on. Sideline Interactive is going to, someone on these calls, webinars, is going to win an 8-foot LED for their sideline, their bench, free shipping, it's worth more than $11,000. And then Craig Reed from KBA. This morning for me, I had a couple of coaches, hey, I need those marker boards. I need those magnetic boards. So Craig took care of them this morning. Craig's been fantastic. Almost half of our coaches have received something from him on the side of marker board, clipboard, magnetic board. So he's been fantastic for us. Mike Bray, who's the past president of the NABC, and Jamie Dixon, who now just took over. They got a lot of things going on with the NABC, all good things, but they got a lot of things to work out with the NCAA. And I'm sure if you followed college basketball today, some of the things that's going on in the landscape are definitely interesting. All of the board of directors have been fantastic on the side of marketing, promotion, their time and efforts. And we appreciate everybody that's been on. This is a really difficult time with the COVID-19 and the pandemic and being quarantined. And then Championship Productions, Bill Bergen, Nate Landis, and Daryl Bennett. All of the coaches that have been on this thing have been absolutely fantastic. Lonnie, don't worry about interrupting me once you tell me that coach is ready to go and everything's good. One thing I was going to tell you is what happened. The NABC, we had 3 clinics in the fall, and then we had Troy Hilton had an unbelievable clinic at the Final Four, ready to go. And then when that all stopped and postponed, and then hopefully next year we have a great one. We had the 5 clinics: Chicago, Myrtle Beach, Springfield, Nashville, and Las Vegas. What we did is we made Championship Productions made 5 virtual clinics. If you go to the website championshipproductions.com, there's a coupon I think on there that you can get a great deal for all 5 of those clinics, like 74 presentations with the same coach on the same topic, same coach a different topic, or a different coach on the same topic. So if you want that, and then I think there's a coupon that we'll put on today or right now that has 25% off any products. But this is really, for a lack of a better analogy, an act of love from the NABC and Championship Productions and the Gun for coaches out there. Our first guest this morning, and we've got a great day, but we go right from Coach Jones, Joe Jones from Boston University, to Jim Boone, Dana Fisher from William & Mary, Steve Prohm, Iowa State, and we have a reoccurring coach making his second appearance, Rob Senderoff. He did such an unbelievable job and got about halfway through, Coach Jones. He got about halfway through all of his plays. So we begged him to come back on. He had unbelievable groundswell from coaches. Hey, get him back on. He's going to be back on at 5 o'clock, and his intro is going to be like this. Here's Coach Senderoff, go. And he's just going to diagram plays. So now it's time for me to warmly introduce Coach Jones, Joe Jones from Boston University. But my question to Coach Jones is going to be right out of the chute. He's been at some unbelievable academic and great institutions, from Hofstra and then Villanova in 97 to 2003, 2003 to 10, Columbia, 2010 to 11, Boston College as an assistant, Boston College's assistant. And then in 2011, taking over the head coaching job at Boston University. He's been to 2 CIT tournaments, 1 NIT. His record overall is 144 and 127. And all I've ever heard about him, well, I'll give you this championship, the Patriot League championship season in 2014, and then 2020, is an unbelievable educator and willing to share, will go out and is a continued learner for himself as a coach. And so with that, warmly introduce, and thanks for being on, Coach Jones, Joe Jones.
Tom, thanks for the great introduction. What an honor it is to be on. I've been listening to all the other coaches. What a great array of people that you've had. So I'm honored and blessed. And you know, I'm like most people right now, home and really trying to figure out how to get better, how to make my team better. And so these types of things that we're doing are great to share. And I'm really looking forward to sharing a little bit about my story and about our program here. You know, I decided to talk about creating culture with goals just because this was the best culture I've ever had. I think we did a lot of work in the off season to get to where we got to. And I thought one of the things that we really try to do is set some goals right away to keep our guys focused. And the other thing that I really had struggled with prior to this season, I thought, was really keeping the guys focused on certain things. I thought there were times where we got out of focus in terms of thinking about too many things, or, you know, the message was getting skewed. And so we just try to focus in our attention to certain things. So the year before the 18-19 season was not a great season for us. We were 7-11 in our league. It was the first time in 18 seasons that a Boston University's team had dropped below 500. So I had 8 years of 500 or better basketball in the different leagues we've been in. And so we really dropped down. And part of the reason we lost probably our best all-around player, but also we didn't do some things the right way. And I don't think our culture was really as tight as it needed to be. So the first thing we did when we got to the spring was I really wanted to kind of set ourselves up in terms of things that I thought were the most important things that we needed to do. So, you know, the year before I felt like we did not compete. And I really wanted our guys to understand what that meant. So we talked about playing hard, and then we tried to define what playing hard meant for us. So we talked about communication. That is a form of playing hard and an example of playing hard. So even in our drill that we did that spring, we would consistently talk about our guys communicating with each other, whether it was a fist bump, a point of the finger on a shot from an assist, the way we huddled up, obviously communicating defensively and communicating offensively. We wanted our guys to kind of over talk in our spring sessions, and we did a really good job of that. We talked about having physicality in the paint. The year before, I really felt we got into a quarterfinal game against a really good Colgate team, and they just destroyed us in the paint. So we wanted to talk about having some physicality in the paint. That meant when the ball did get there that we did a great job of chesting, hands up. We didn't want to foul. We try to keep the ball out of the paint on post-up opportunities, force people to catch the ball off the primetime area, which is a step or two off the block. And then when they try to back us down, again, we wanted to chest and make it hard for people to score. We also wanted to talk about, with physicality in the paint, we wanted to talk about taking charges and also walling up when we were in the restricted area. And so we just wanted to make it hard when people got the ball into the paint. We really want to make it hard for them to be able to hurt us. Then we talked about trying to get to loose balls. It was important that, you know, anything that we did, 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 4-on-4, 5-on-5 that spring, we wanted to get to loose balls, diving on loose balls, and getting to those opportunities to give your team another possession. And then we wanted to focus hard on rebounding, whether it was defensive rebounding, offensive rebounding. That wanted to be a focus of ours in terms of playing hard. And then the last one was just contesting shots. I thought the year before we gave up on plays and we wanted every shot to be contested. So what we did was we had our guys, when we met in the spring, we had them communicate to us what playing hard was. And then at the end of practice, we would say, okay, give me an example of playing hard today. Give me an example of a possession that you thought we did a good job. And they would have to tell us what that was. So, you know, at the end of the spring, I really felt like our guys had a really good sense of what playing hard meant. And I thought we were moving in the right direction because they were kind of owning it and understood it. We wanted to have and start to have a defense and competitive mindset. The year before, we really felt that really hurt us, that we were a very good offensive team. We were one of the top 3 teams offensively in the league, but we were maybe the worst defensive team in the league. And that was the first time that had ever happened in one of my teams. And we really wanted to change that. So we played a ton. Everything we did was competitive. And we played a ton of 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 4-on-4, and 5-on-5. We played 1-on-1 from everywhere, half court, full court, from the wings, from the top of the key, 1 dribble, 2 dribble, no dribbles in the paint, and everything was competitive. And then when they played their pickup games, we made them we had a chart, and they had to we had a winner and a loser. So if you played 5 games and you won 3, that went on the chart. So everything we did was charted, and every competitive thing that they were doing that spring. And I thought it really, really helped us. And then on Fridays when we met, we would go through the list and just trying to talk about who was on top and who was on bottom. And you could tell it really helped with the competitiveness, that guys really wanted to win at everything that they were trying to do. It really helped. The next thing we just kind of talked about that we could get better at in terms of a staff and our team is kind of collectively getting better. The staff and the team kind of working together to get better. So we wanted to have a growth mentality every day. I really challenged my staff to improve individually and also helping our guys. And so we were just trying to get better every day. That was a goal of ours. And we would talk about that at the end of the workout. Did you feel like we got better today? Sometimes when I didn't like what was going on, I didn't think we were focused or we're playing hard enough, I would just kind of get into them and talk about, hey guys, let's have a growth mentality. Let's have a focus on just trying to get better. And I thought we improved in that area. And then we really wanted to stress individual improvement in the off season. That was huge for us. Guys just getting better. And we carried that over from the spring to the summer, fall. And then even in our season, we always wanted to have a component of guys getting better. And what I did was I gave guys 2 to 3 things to kind of focus on in the off season to get better. Then when we went to work them out, we would continue to have those guys working on those things. And then the last thing, we just wanted to really have some fun. We talked about that. We wanted to make it enjoyable. I need some help in this. I'm a type of coach, when I get to practice, I'm kind of focused. I got my game face on and I'm going. But I wanted to make our individual instruction fun. I wanted to make, when we got together as a team, I wanted to make those things fun. And so those are things that we really tried to stress to get them kind of focused on the right things, moving from the spring into the summer. And then once we got into the summer, when we did more team stuff, we really tried to hone in on what our offensive goals were and what we were trying to do when we were playing. So, you know, we wanted them to focus on these things, you know, running the floor, having great spacing, sharing and valuing the ball, playing inside out. We had a terrific low post player in Max Mahoney, and we wanted to really get that ball to him and play off him. And then we wanted to make sure we got the ball side to side as well. We talked about transition and how we wanted to run and the pace that we wanted to play at. We talked about making quick decisions and not having that ball stick in the half court, and then player and ball movement were things that we really tried to focus on. And then we talked about spacing in our offense, when the ball went inside, how we wanted to look and the different things that we wanted to do. With Max being such a great player, we knew that they were going to double team from the baseline, big to big, off the pass. So we had to be ready for all those different scenarios, and we were kind of going through those. Where we wanted to go when we put the ball on the floor, how we wanted to space, and then our rebounding responsibilities. And we would show our guys edits in the summertime of when we were doing these things well and when we weren't. And we would use our game footage from the year before to keep kind of stressing those things. into the summer. And so I'm going to show you just some things that that we did and how we wanted to look. If I can get this thing to work here. So this is our transition. We talk about just if they don't stop us, we want to really put a lot of pressure on them. If they can't stop the ball, we want to pressure on them and try to get that ball to the paint. We want to get the ball inside in transition. Here's Max here working, and they do a great job of defending him. And then we get the ball back inside, and Max is able to score on 3 guys with his left hand. He was a terrific, terrific player. But that's just an example of how we want to attack. Here we want to attack. We throw the ball up. We want to throw it up as much as possible, and that allows us to get this high-low look. All right, big fella's got to make that. Here's one we want to definitely look to use the step-up screen in transition and look to play, getting that ball into the paint and looking to spray it around. Here's another step up, and we hit them on the roll, and then we get a great 45 cut from the weak side to score. So these are just some ways that we wanted to attack in transition. This is more in the half court, how we want to play against a terrific South Carolina team. The ball gets reversed. Now we go to a ball screen. We're able to get the ball to the paint, force the help, and drive and kick. Little shot fake because they were going to be really aggressive. Another terrific team in Vermont, and just our ability to kind of get into the paint a few times. So here's one paint touch. Here's another one, and we're able to score. And so we just want to just consistently reinforce how we want to play. Here we go with a little high-low here, roll replace, and we're able to get the ball inside the Max on a high-low look. So again, the ball is getting side to side. It's getting inside out. Everybody's touching it. Great back cut by Petcash. Open up our big to sit. Now we go a little pin screen to use the ball screen, and now we're going to get a little paint touch here. They help, and we're able to dish and finish. All right. The next thing we want to really stress is our cutting off the ball. So one of the things that we talk about is the Marion cut, and really we try to cut the baseline. And here's a great baseline Marion cut to a pass to a shooter on the perimeter. Here's a great one, middle drive to a Marion cut along the baseline. Here's another one. And these are just ways that we like to play off the ball. And we're just always stressing this. Here's a bunch of post patterns. That's just when we get it inside. This is just a one-on-one finish. They don't help. He's able to finish. They do a great job here. They come with 3 guys just inside out. And these are all things that we stress in the off season, getting ourselves ready to go. Here they go. They knock them down. I'm complaining to the ref. We get the touch, and now they go big, and we're able to get inside out and get it reversed off the rotation. Here's one. We go big to big pass, and we 45 cut for a dunk. And these are all things we're stressing. He was so good, we had to be ready. Here's a baseline double 45 cut to a skip pass. I mean, those are great plays by Max. I don't know what we're going to do without him. Here's a big to big, and then we were able to get the opposite big on the block. So again, these are all things that we were able to know, okay, they're going to double this way, they're going to double that way. And here they don't come, and he just makes a good move to finish. And this is the same thing. So the next thing that, after we're done with our, again, we're stressing those things in the spring, the summer. We're showing them video. They're coming in, they're doing some individual stuff. And so I felt like going after the summer, they were really locked in on what was important in terms of our offense going into the fall. The next thing we focused on in the summertime was our defensive goals and what we wanted to do. And we started a little bit of this in the spring and then carried over to the summer, but we gave them some things that we wanted to achieve. And one was really guarding one-on-one. And we wanted, again, keep playing one-on-one. We felt like if we can get better playing one-on-one, that would really help our team defense. The next thing we really focused on was our defensive positioning, where we wanted to be off the ball, our transition defense, how we wanted to work that, 1 and 2, get back on the raise of the ball, 3, 4, and 5, get into the offensive glass. We had to change our ball screen defense from the year before, so we really focused on hard hedging and staying on the ball a little bit longer than we had to pass to contain the ball. The year before we were low showing, and we really struggled with that. So we really changed our ball screen defense, and then we really wanted to kind of work on limiting our fouling and playing without our hands and using our body. And we kind of focused on those things defensively and talked about those things on a consistent basis in the summer.
Hey, Coach.
Yep.
Let's address this, that we're gonna Coach is gonna answer questions at the end, and then also if you want his presentation, he'll ask you to send him an email. We'll do that at the end too. Correct? Isn't that how you want to handle it, Coach?
Yes. I'm sorry that I should have said that before. My email address is jjones11@bu.edu. jjones11@bu.edu. So you don't have to worry about trying to maybe make so many notes. And if there's some things, just jot some things down as I go, and I can, if you send me what you need, I can get it out to you.
Thanks, Coach.
You got it. This was very interesting. And this is the first time I did this to this extent. I had been working with a woman in our department that was in charge of leadership, and she was working with me and my staff, just trying to improve. And then she was working with my team as well. And she came up with, giving the guys some goal setting for our team. And I had done stuff like this in the past, and she talked about giving them process goals they wanted to set and then outcome goals. And the process goals would be, what are the things that they thought we needed to do to reach our outcome goals. And so they talked about, and this was awesome, they talked about winning the free throw battle when we gave it to them. They talked about winning the 3-point battle, and they talked about the offensive rebounding battle. So, I thought it was awesome that they talked about the free throw battle, because they were talking, they knew the year before we had fouled more than we wanted to. We had focused on not fouling in the summertime. And so they were starting to own that, and they came up with that. And then they talked about the 3-point shooting battle. They didn't really elaborate on what that meant, other than trying to hold people down defensively from the 3-point line. Was more of a defensive thing that they talked about. And they also talked about being the best offensive rebounding team in our league. And I thought those were awesome things, because it really coincided with what we had been talking about. And as you know, if the players are saying it, then that's obviously a point in the right direction in terms of if they're believing what you're doing and they're owning it. And I thought our guys started to own it. And then these were the outcome goals that they came up with. They win the Patriot League season title, and we actually ended up missing that out 2 games. Win all your home games. We were 12-3 at home, and then obviously we were able to win the Patriot League tournament title. So we were close with the other outcome goals that we set, but we got the big one in the end. And then what I did was I gave them an evaluation of the season. I asked them about their goals and why they felt like they achieved some goals and why they didn't achieve others. And it was really interesting what they were talking about then. And the big thing was they felt like it kind of goes to our core values, which we'll talk about at the end. And they really talked about how they felt that they had a hard time sustaining the level of focus and energy every day. And it kind of bit us in those games that we lost at home, and obviously not winning the regular season title, the 2 games we were behind Colgate. They felt like our inability to kind of stay focused and bring that energy every day hurt us. So, again, this is a team, I would say this too, this team is a lot more mature group than I've had in the past. So I was able to give them a lot of responsibility, and I felt like that really helped in terms of their buy-in to what we were doing. The next thing that we do once we get in the season, we kind of give them just 8 game goals that we have that we go over every single game the next day. So the first game goal was, and they're all like coinciding with, if you see this, I think the other great thing is, if you look at how we set up the spring and then we set up the summer with the offense and defensive goals, it all fits together. It's all reinforced. So these goals are being reinforced with everything. And then once we get in the season, we're really not talking about our process and outcome goals. We're not talking about what our spring goals were. We're really focusing more on how we want to play offensively and defensively, and then how that really affects the game goals. And then, so the 6 bricks are just getting 3 stops in a row. We want to get 6 of those. We want to hold teams to 43% shooting or less. We want to win the 50-50 battle. That's that loose ball battle that we talked about in the spring. We want to win that battle. And I thought we did a great job in those areas. We want to win the free throw battle, meaning we want to take more free throws than our opponents. We want to take care of the basketball, 12 turnovers or less. We want to offensive rebound 33% of our misses, and defensive rebound 73% of our opponents' misses. And we did a great job. This was a year that I felt like we did an awesome job with our game goals. We hit a lot of them throughout the year. I thought the one that we really struggled with the most, probably more consistently, was the offensive rebounding goal, which was a little bit harder for us to get. But we were pretty consistent at getting most of these. And you would see the guys getting really excited. We clap after every time we got one of the game goals. We have a big chart in our locker room that shows when we got the goal and when we didn't. And it was something our guys really got into this season especially. The next thing that we really tried to hone in on was 2 things. Was our offensive rebounding, and really, were guys going or were they not going? And then if they were going, were we securing the basketball? And then our defensive transition. And there were 2 areas where we really felt like we could make some huge gains in this. And so we talked about this in the off season. And then we put it into play once the game started. So we had an assistant coach kind of go through this. After every game, we'd have one assistant kind of go through the game goals. We have another assistant going through the offensive rebound responsibilities. And I thought this was awesome. And I'll show you the difference between 18-19 and 19-20 when we really did a much better job of getting to the offensive glass. And so it was very simple how we did it. You know, if you had opportunities to go and you didn't, you would be deducted a point. So if you had 10 opportunities and you went 7 times, your score would be 70. And we were really trying to get to 90. And then the same thing for our guards that had to get back. You'd have the same score, and basically trying to get our guards back over half court to the top of the key to stop the ball. We rated them as well on that. So everybody had a rating. We had guys that were safety guys, meaning that they were the transition defensive guys, and then guys that were crashers that we deemed crashers. And then this was the chart that we used. Again, we would put it on a PowerPoint and we would show them after every game where they were. And again, the guys got really into this. They would be complaining that they thought they went more than showing. We would, after every game, we would have this in an edit form too, of times that they went and times that they didn't go. And we were able to kind of show them that it was awesome. And our guys got a lot better. So you could see, like on the chart, that our 2 bigs, Sukmathan and Jack Hentful, did a great job of going. Britton Watts was a guard off the bench. He did a really good job, close to getting 90 on transition defense. He was a safety guy. Petcash was a safety guy. Mahoney was a crasher. Those guys did the best job. And I thought, what happens is the guys that played the most minutes, so Suk was a starter, but he didn't play starter minutes. Jack was off the bench. Britton Watts was off the bench. Petcash was off the bench. The guys that played the most minutes, those are the guys that had trouble consistently doing what they needed to do. And so it was an area where we felt like we could really get on. Like Javonte McCoy's a starter, and he did a poor job of as being a safety. So that's something that we can really improve on in terms of our transition defense. Walter White, even though he averaged over 8 rebounds a game, he was a guy that had more opportunities to go to the glass, and he didn't. So these are areas where we really can get better at, and they can affect the game. And again, it was something that our guys got into and got better at. And then these were the stats for this year. These were the stats in terms of the number of times that you went and you secured the ball. So the year before, Super Mathone was 6.8, and then he was 12.9 in 1 year. And I think us really charting this and sitting on top of it and talking about it gave our guys, they were just more aware of opportunities to go. Jack Henfield was another big off the bench. He went from 7.1 to 11.6, and we put a ton of pressure on teams when those guys got in the game because they was just going to the glass with so much energy because they weren't playing as much. So I thought it really impacted us that we charted this and stayed on it. And I have to commend my assistant for really coming up with this and doing a great job with this. It really helped us. A big thing that I stole, I worked for Coach Wright, Jay Wright, for a number of years, first at Hofstra for 3 years and then another 2 at Villanova. And he came up with a chart, and he called it the attitude chart. And what it really does, it highlights all the hard things that you have to do in the games, and the things that you're trying to reinforce and talk about to your team. Those are reinforced through this chart. And it's something that you can use for practices and chart your practices in this way. And it's something that we use for games. This was the year that I thought our guys really bought in more than any other year. We did it the past year, and I thought it gained some momentum. And now I think it's something they look forward to. Again, we do an edit of this for every guy and kind of show them their attitude chart and things they were able to do and things they didn't. And some of these things kind of coincide with the rebounding that we just talked about. But I love it. I would always do this now for the rest of the time that I'm coaching. That I would always do this because I think it helps guys that don't get a lot of notoriety get notoriety with their teammates and coaches. I mean, we all know the guys that are going to be our leading scorers. Those are the guys that the media wants to talk to all the time. Those are the guys that are getting their names in the papers. But there's so many, as everybody knows, there's so many unsung heroes and people that are doing the dirty work for those guys to look good and for our coaches to look good. So how can you applaud those guys? How can you highlight those guys outside of saying things that they do? Well, this is an area, this is something that can really help a kid that's not a scorer, but they're doing other things well. And I don't do the chart exactly the way Coach Wright did it. We kind of do it to kind of fit our philosophy, but it's a way that you can highlight other guys doing some great things like grabbing 50-50 balls. So the way the chart works is you get a point. You're trying to get as the lowest score as possible. So you're charting all these different things. This is the chart that we use. And again, you don't have to worry about taking a picture of this. I can show you this. But this is the chart we use, and then these are the areas that we use them in. So basically, if you allow a middle drive, you give up a point. And if you're out of position, you give up a point. So these are things that we chart. We try to keep the ball out of the middle. So anytime the ball gets middle, they get added a point. If you're out of position, and really what we do with positioning is if you're out of position on a scoring opportunity, that's when you get docked a point. It was really hard for one guy to do every possession, so we just do it on the scoring possessions. Ball screen defense, really the 2 guys involved in the ball screen we're looking at because we hedge. If that guard didn't give up a back cut or what we call bingo, you got to get over the top of the ball screen, and was the big at the line of scrimmage and able to kind of help contain the ball. And then if they're switching, again, we don't give up bingo, we don't give up any splits, and then do we step up on our switches on ball screen. So we're looking at those things as we go, and one of my assistants is charting all those things for them. We also look at contesting shots. Again, something that we talked about as early as the spring. We wanted to contest all shots. We want to talk about closeouts, that we close out the right way. Were we able to contain the ball or get a good contest? We want to talk about blocking out. So again, rebounding. We're going through the rebounding in this as well. We go over turnovers. Did you take care of the basketball? Fouling, you could lose points. Fouling. So guys would say, man, my chart was good, but I had 4 fouls. So it's something, again, that reinforced the things that we were teaching. Then we had, again, transition defense would go into play again in this chart, and offensive rebounding would go into play in this chart as well. So all those things are kind of getting reinforced in this chart as well. And then the way you can gain some points is you can get yourself to some 50-50 balls. Loose balls can help you. And also if you can get some charges or walling up on defenders in a restricted area, those are ways that you could gain some points. So they would just give you a minus. So if you had a score of 5 and then you took a charge, they take off 1. So now you have a score of 4. And again, you're trying to get the lowest score possible. So now these are some things that we look at when we're looking at the attitude chart. So this would be something that we would take a look at, would be, are we going to the offensive glass? So those guys would be deducted because there was no attempt to get to the glass there. And then we'll also take a look at the guards that they sprint back. If they're not sprinting back, they're getting deducted a point. So as I'm watching, I'm seeing our guards kind of drifting through, and we're trying to get those guys to sprint back hard. So, we're showing them that. And now these are some positive plays, and you can see how the difference in energy that we went to the glass here, and we're kind of showing them that. Max Mahoney goes hard, Walter White goes hard here, getting another possession. We got 3 guys in the paint here. Walter comes up with it, and we miss the bunny at the rim. But we do get the loose ball there. Here we go again. Jack Henfield's inside, and Fletcher does a great job trying to get in there. And again, watching the perimeter guys as well. Are they getting back? Are they jogging back? Are they sprinting back? And again, reinforcing that, talking to those guys about those things. Here's one on the middle drive. Max gets beat on the middle, and then he gets beat, and then there's no help there. That guy gets the point. The guy off the ball. Here's another middle drive off the throw. And again, we didn't have anybody jumping in the gap, so that guy would get the out of position. Go here. I think was late, close out. He would be the on the closeout. Even though the guy's a shooter, he was late. He was some ball screen stuff. Just not being able to contain the ball. Those 2 guys in the ball would be getting deducted here. He didn't get 3. These are all things. And here's a ball that we don't contain the ball and then block out. So all those guys would be deducted in that sequence right there. Here's a great wall up and how he was able to gain a point. Max does a great job of walling him up, making it hard for him to score. So he would be able to gain a point there. And here's a charge. And this could be a question charge, but we gave it to him because this kid in particular like to drop his shoulder and go middle, and so we were able to take that play. So those are just some things that we for our guys. We've already talked about. So quick transition that we talked about, even the attitude start. This for our guys. The last thing that I would say that really helped us this year was our core values and how that coincided with our goals and what we were trying to do. We work with a gentleman by the name of George Mumford that does mindfulness training. He's a guy that worked with the Bulls and had worked with Steve Kerr amongst a lot of other pro teams. He worked with the Miami Dolphins, and he's terrific. And so he worked with us for one summer, really helped us focus on some of the right things. And one of the things that he did was work with our guys in terms of core values. So again, I'm getting a lot of input from our players in terms of what they think is important, and all the things. Obviously, I have veto power over things, but I really wanted to get a feel for what they thought was important. So with some help from me, but mostly from them, they came up with these 4 core values, and we've had them for the last 3 years. And the first one was just relentlessness. And I thought each year we've gotten a little bit better at all these. And I like it's been consistent, and I think our guys have learned how to get better because it's been consistent. So we talked about relentlessness, and then once they were able to kind of come up with the core value, I wanted to have meaning behind it. I didn't want it to be just words. So what relentlessness meant to them was trying hard and failing 9 times out of 10, but pushing as hard as you can, even on the 10th time. The next one was integrity. And then they came up with being disciplined within yourself to make sure you don't come and cheat yourself, then making sure you don't cheat your teammates, and finally holding yourself and your teammates accountable. Open-mindedness, being able to step aside of your own interests for the good of the team, sacrificing your own wants and needs for the greater good, being open to criticism and instruction and advice from coaches. Brotherhood, a close unit of young men with a common goal, a willingness to do battle with a brother or teammate to your right or left, giving yourself to the aid of a brother. And then loving the process of getting better with all the bumps in the road, including loving the game of basketball so you enjoy playing on your own personal skill, working on your own personal skills, as well as loving the little things aside from scoring, like assists, rebounds, charges, high fives, etc. So these were things that our guys prided ourselves on. I think this year we had the best sense of brotherhood that we've ever had. It was a really close-knit team. I thought they showed great love for the game in terms of guys coming in extra to work out, staying after practice to work out, working on their game, and doing the little things that it takes to win in their definition. I thought they showed great relentlessness. If you talk to them, I thought that's something that they would say. 4 out of the last 6 games, we were down by 14 points or more in the second half of those games, and came back and won every one of them. And I think they would tell you that their open-mindedness needs to be better, the way they interact with each other. But this is all stuff that's coming back from them. When I gave them a postseason evaluation, they came up with the things that they felt like they need to get better at when I talked to them, asked them about their core values. And I thought integrity is something that, after getting feedback from them, it's something that we got to talk about more, of not cheating yourself and doing the right thing. So, I thought these core values were great for us, and something I thought that really fit in terms of our goal setting and really how things that we wanted to accomplish. So, Tom, at this time, I'll take any questions that anybody has.
I'll go through them here, Coach. Do
Okay,
you have a similar culture as Jay Wright does as a coach?
Oh God, I hope so. But I think, we're trying to move in that direction, I would say. I think they're the best. I think that's the reason why they've been able to sustain the level that they could. I tell you what, I had a great conversation with him 3 days ago. And I was curious to ask him, I said to him, you know what, right now we're at an all-time high in terms of our culture and the maturity of our players and the buy-in of our players. We're at an all-time high right now. I said to him, what can I do, or what should I be looking to do to kind of keep the culture in place? Or more importantly, I asked him, how is he able now to sustain the level of culture that he had after he felt like he got it right? And we went back to his Hofstra days as well as his Villanova days. And he said to me that every decision that he made, with personnel, what they were doing, he goes, first of all, your players are watching everything you do. They're watching every decision that you make. He goes, I would make every decision based on the one thing: how does this affect my culture? If I start this guy and he's not a guy that's playing hard enough, and we talk about playing hard, how's that going to affect my culture? How's it going to affect my culture if I if I play this guy and he's not a guy that's selfless. If these are things that we're talking about doing and I'm making a decision not to play the right guys, it's going to affect it. And it really made me think, and it really kind of sharpened my focus on how I need to attack this season.
How does the winning culture continue, Coach, if some players leave after 1 year, and how does that affect the program?
Well, I think these are things that we're all going to be dealing with. It's something that I'm really concerned about, that I need to figure out how I can maintain a steady roster. And I know there are going to be things that I can't control. But I think the way you treat your players, the way you recruit them, the things you promise them, being careful of that, the language that you're using when you're recruiting these guys, and how you're treating them when they're there, and making sure you're invested in their lives. I think we do a great job of that. I think we go out of our way. Like right now, my coaches and myself, we're calling the parents of our players every 2 weeks just to check on them. We're talking to our players. We're talking to the people around them. The way we recruited them was, I think we recruited them the right way without making promises that we can't keep. We're invested in their lives. We're always trying to help them be a better version of themselves off the court. We're consistently talking about that. We're trying to get our guys internships in the off season and summer, so they know they know we care about them. And then as much as I can, I have my former players talking to my players now. And so we're just trying to build a culture that kids don't want to leave because they really understand what we're all about. But I think that's something that we got to watch out for as time goes on, because, if, for instance, if Max Mahoney, who was our best player, but he's also a guy that really fueled our culture because he was so unselfish and he did things the right way and he emulated everything you wanted to be. If we lost that guy and he left this year and we didn't have him this season, that would have crushed us. We would have had a hard time of having success, but also having our culture, which is more important than the winning, get to where it is right now. So I think that's something that we're going to be dealing with.
When building a winning culture, Coach, if you have a lack of resources from the school, what can you do?
Yeah, I think it's more about your relationships. I don't, look, we were able to go to Spain, which I didn't talk about, and I thought that really impacted our culture. It impacted the bond. It impacted our brotherhood. It helped in every way. And obviously, we had the money to go. But I think when I look at this, I don't worry so much about, can we do this? Can we do that? I worry more about what am I doing? What am I doing as a head coach, and how am I leading? How's my staff leading? How are my upperclassmen leading to help fuel the culture? That doesn't cost money. I think that's all about time and effort, and the things that you're going to highlight and the things that are going to be important to you and your program. I think those are things that help fuel your culture.
All right. I got another one here. It says, good evening. So somewhere in the world, Coach, good evening. Can all players rotate?
Rotate in what way?
That's a good question. Let's go on let's go to the next one. As a high school coach, would you hold character as a high standard before they make the team? How would you address character during the off season?
I think that's critical. It goes along with our core value of integrity. I think that's critical. And I think each coach has to assess what that means for them. But I do feel like your sense of character on what you're doing in the off season is important in terms of the things that you're about within your program. And so guys that are making poor choices in the off season, that's definitely has to impact what's happening. All the players, all the kids around them are seeing what this kid is doing, whether it's positive or negatively. And if you bring a kid that's not making the smart decisions into your program, it's going to impact how good your culture is. And I know that there's got to be decisions, and I've done it to myself in terms of, you have a kid that's really talented, and he's the kid that's the biggest pain in the butt. But at some point, at times, you have to make a decision on which way you're going to go and what you're going to put up with. What are your standards? But I think for you to be able to, at some point, build a level of culture that you're trying to build, the kids have to know, okay, if you do these things, you can't be here. I think at some point you have to be able to cut your losses in terms of how a kid is behaving, whether it's in season or out of season.
Coach, would you consider yourself more of an offensive coach or defensive coach?
Wow, I thought, early in my career, I was definitely more of a defensive coach. And I still think I'm more of a defensive coach. But I think as I've gotten older, hopefully I've gotten better, that the bridge has narrowed a bit and the gaps narrowed a bit, and that I understand the importance. I understand the importance of offense, but I probably would lean more on the defensive side, and my players would probably say the same thing. This year we were rolling in our league, and then the last 6 games we really struggled to score, and we won the championship this year 64 to 61, and we averaged 73 points a game. Our last 5 games or so, we were scoring in the 60s, and we were really doing it with our defense. But I think you got to bring a great offense too if you want to be successful. I think it goes both ways, but I would lean more towards the defensive end.
You talk about getting feedback from your players on how to help build your culture. How do you collect the feedback? Example, exit interviews, surveys, especially if you can't develop a great relationship with those.
Yeah, so I think, and this is a great question, and this is something I've gotten better at. So one thing I would say is it's going to be hard to get them to answer the hard questions that you want to know in team meetings at times. Guys just don't. My group right now, I have 4, 5, 6 guys. They'll answer any question I give them. They don't care. They don't care how I'm going to respond. They could care less. They're not disrespectful, but they're going to tell you how I feel. And I think part of that is the relationship that we build, and then part of that is them. But I think if you want to get the answers to the tough questions, that at times you have to get that in different ways. So one thing, we give them a survey where they do not have to put their name on it. And they can answer the questions the way they see fit. We do that within our department, and I get great feedback from them, and our department gives them. And then I gave them a questionnaire, and I wanted to know who said what, because I wanted them, sometimes when you get feedback, they don't elaborate enough on what they're saying, and I wanted to really know. And so I got great questions from them, and then I was able to kind of call them on Zoom and get it. So it's a kind of combination of both, and I think you can figure out for yourself. But I think if you're trying to get answers to stuff in team meetings, I think it's hard for them at times to say what they're feeling.
Coach, this one's from the Philippines. I was wondering how you fix a team if the core value isn't working for them, or not making them any better, or your target character development in them doesn't have the progress. Thanks a lot.
I think the thing that I would say is not trying to lower the bar, so to speak, but trying to figure out really where they are, where they are, how can that group have success? And success may not be in wins and losses. Success might be just trying to build a better culture. And I think what you have to do is try to figure out really where that group is. And it might not be, you may not be as successful, but can you get better? I think that's the big thing. Do you have a growth mentality, and are you getting better? And I think you got to try to figure out how can we get better? How can we improve our culture? And if we have to make some changes in the core values, we have to make some changes in how we're doing things. Let's do it to get better, because I think this is all about having a growth mentality and trying to get better. The other great thing that when I was talking to Coach Wright, this was awesome. He talked more about not trying to chase winning as much as trying to make sure you're doing things the right way. And that winning is a byproduct of that. And he said, sometimes you just might not win. You may be doing things the right way, and and you just may not be good enough to win, and that's okay too. But you can't think about this in terms of winning as much as thinking about doing the right things. And I thought that was a great lesson for me to hear from him. Even how he reacted after he won the championship the first time. He said, listen, if the ball didn't go in, I was still going to be really, really excited for my team and really proud of them, whether they're winning or not, because I know sometimes the ball's just not going to go in. I just think that really, those type, that level of thinking, I think more coaches need to have, and I have to really get better at that myself.
2 more questions, Coach, and then Troy's going to take over for a question. What has been the most effective punishment for a player that has caused issues? I'll read it again. What have been the most effective punishments for players that have caused issues, problems in your program? Running, suspension?
Well, they don't let you run kids anymore. So that's one thing you can't do. So you can't punish them, and at least at my school, with anything physical. So that's out the window now. So, and that's a great question. Probably one of the toughest guys I had, we did everything with him. He ran, he was suspended. He came in early to do study hall. I mean, we did everything with him. I don't know if there was one thing that we did that really stuck out. I think there were some things that were harder for him to handle. There was a year that this kid was our best player. He didn't play in the first 6 games of the season because of what he did in the off season. And so that was, I thought that was impactful to our guys to see that we were going to hold him to the standard, even though he was a great player. That might have been you never know what impacts your culture or your kids the most, but probably that was the suspension. The length of it was probably the most impactful thing that we did. I wouldn't suggest that though.
All right, I'm going to combine these 2, and then Troy's got it, and then we'll end.
You got it, buddy.
How do you deal with a great player or great skills, but the attitude problem? And then the other one is, what are your non-negotiables? What are the things that you just will not budge on?
Great. So I'd say the first thing is, I think you have to be prepared to sit a guy. Like I feel like if you're looking at this like we got to win this game, and I've done it too. Look, I'll raise my hand and tell you right now, I'm a culprit of all these things, but I've gotten to the point now where our guys know that I'll do what's right before I'm gonna just try to win a game. And I think once they know that, I think that changes their outlook. Now, so there are going to be some kids that are going to challenge you. There are going to be some kids that have a hard time consistently doing the right things. That's going to happen. And when those things happen, you have to be able to discipline. I think it also gets to the point where if a guy is just not getting it, I think you have to make a decision on maybe removing him from your team. I just think that can happen at times because you have to have a level. And there's things you can do before that, suspension, take away playing time. I mean, there are things you can do before you got to get there. And I think what you try to do with them is come up with, all right, these are the things that are, these are things that are going to happen if you don't comply, and help them understand what's going on. I think making it very clear to them and your team of how this is going to go down if someone's not really stepping up the way you need them to step up and act the right way. And then the second question was, what are my non-negotiables? And I just think like disrespect is a non-negotiable for me. And I know that comes in a lot of forms, but a level of disrespect for your university, for your community, for your teammate, your coaches, that's something that I just will not tolerate. And the other thing I don't tolerate is someone not doing what they need to be doing in the classroom. I just don't tolerate that. Our guys know that. We've had guys that have had to sit out games because they weren't really committed to the classroom. So those are 2 things that I would say that are non-negotiable.
Troy, go ahead.
Thanks, Tom. Hey, Joe. First of all, I wanted to thank you for doing this today. I mean, I can't imagine the coaches on here don't appreciate the time that you put into putting this presentation together. And I think hopefully by you telling them early on that you were willing to send all the graphs out to them, it allowed them to sit back in and take it all in and not worry about taking notes. So I think that was great. I am disappointed that I didn't get to see you and your brother James at the Final Four this year. I enjoyed seeing the two of you and your boys.
Exactly. Everybody's saying it to you, Coach. You would have went to the Final Four. I'm like, yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, sorry that didn't work out. Now, Tom read your bio to start this off and read all the accomplishments and awards and stuff like that. I was just curious where.
Tell Troy I lost him.
We lost his audio. We lost him somewhere. Troy, try it one more time. While we're waiting for him, Coach, I didn't do a very good job. You did make an unbelievable turn from 1980 or 2018 to 19. You were 15 and 18 and 7 and 11, and then you're 21 and 13 and 12 and 6. That's quite the turn.
Yeah. We first of all, one of our best players was out that year, 18-19, Walter White. So that was a huge step for us to get him back. But also, you know, we were young. We had a lot. We had 6 freshmen, 18-19. They grew up. But we worked really hard on these things that I'm talking about. I can't underscore, you know, the things that I'm talking about, how hard we worked on developing our goals, setting our goals, communicating those goals, reinforcing it through the different things that I showed you. We worked really hard. When you look back, and I look back on what we did, we worked really hard on that. And even our staff getting together, getting on the same page, working together, we worked hard as a staff in terms of our relations. So it was a lot that went into this.
Troy's back with us, I think. Go ahead, Troy.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I got a new laptop, and I don't know if it's something I'm doing or if it's just crazy, but at the most random times, the speakers will turn off or the microphone will turn off. So I don't know
It's your magnetic personality.
Is that what it is? Where did I cut off?
Just start all over.
The only question I had was, you know, at the beginning, Tom read your bio and all the things that you've won and the awards you've won and accomplishments, stuff like that, which was great. I was just curious where being the winning coach of the 2018 NABC All-Star Game ranked in there, not only on a professional level, but on a personal level.
Dude, let me tell you something. I have that they gave me a little trophy. I have that in the center of my desk. And it just reminds me the last time me and my brother went head-to-head, I kicked his butt. So, yes, that's my #1 accomplishment. I'll tell you that right now. How about what he says to me after the game? So we shake hands. He's like, oh, you know, that was just for fun. No, it wasn't. He was trying to win. He was trying to win the game.
No, it really was. That's the only question I had, Tom.
You got it. Thanks, buddy.
And when we get to the Final Four next year, the 3 of us have to go sit someplace because we could have way too much fun.
Or we could have a good time. That is for sure.
And Troy will pay for everything.
We're good.
Hey, thanks, Coach.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Hope you guys.
Hey, I will say this. Coach did some videos when they were practicing to go overseas, and they're coming out pretty soon. He was unbelievable. He just got done voicing over all of them. So first, Coach, thanks for doing that. And then if you need to get a hold of Coach, why don't you give your email address?
Yeah, let me give my email again. It's jjones11 at bu.edu. Feel free to email me, and I will respond and provide you with any of the things that you'd like to know more about. No problem.
I'll put Coach's email address on the question and answers right now. Okay.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Stay healthy and safe, everybody.
Jim Boone is at noon Central Time. Have a great day. He'll be unbelievable.